Have you ever wondered why fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, and kombucha have been around for centuries and still play a vital role in our diets? From the ancient Egyptians brewing beer to the Korean tradition of kimchi, fermentation is a culinary technique steeped in history. It's not just about preserving food, but it's also a way of enhancing its flavors and nutritional value. Fermentation is a magical process that harnesses the power of microorganisms to transform ordinary ingredients into something extraordinary. From the tangy taste of yogurt to the effervescence of champagne, these tiny creatures are the unsung heroes of some of our most beloved foods and drinks. Across the globe, each culture has its unique fermented dishes, reflecting local ingredients and tastes. In Japan, you'll find natto, a pungent dish made from fermented soybeans. In Eastern Europe, pickles and sauerkraut are staples. In Africa, injera, a sourdough-risen flatbread, is a must-have. These are just a few examples of the world's rich and diverse fermentation traditions. But it's not just the fascinating history or the rich cultural significance that makes fermentation so important. It's also about the remarkable health benefits that these foods offer. Indeed, fermentation isn't just about preserving foods, it's an age-old practice that holds many health benefits. So, what makes fermented foods so beneficial for health? Let's delve into the science behind it. The magic ingredient that makes fermented foods a health booster is probiotics. Probiotics are beneficial bacteria that are known to promote gut health. They do this by balancing the good and bad bacteria in your gut, which can improve digestion and strengthen your immune system. This balance is crucial because an imbalance can lead to digestive issues, allergies, mental health problems, and obesity. Consuming fermented foods can provide your gut with a diverse range of these probiotics, helping to maintain this important balance. But the benefits don't stop there. Did you know that about 70% of your immune system is housed in your gut? So, by fostering a healthy gut, you're also supporting a strong immune system. This makes you better equipped to fight off illnesses and infections. Furthermore, the process of fermentation breaks down nutrients in food, making them easier for your body to absorb. This means you get more nutritional bang for your buck when you eat fermented foods. And it's not just about physical health. There's a growing body of research suggesting a link between gut health and mental well-being. This connection, known as the gut-brain axis, could have significant implications for managing conditions like depression and anxiety. There's also evidence that fermented foods can help prevent leaky gut syndrome, a condition where toxins and bacteria leak through the intestinal wall into the rest of the body. This can cause a host of health problems, from bloating and cramps to fatigue and skin issues. But remember, not all fermented foods are created equal. To reap these health benefits, it's important to choose naturally fermented foods that contain live cultures. In a nutshell, incorporating fermented foods into your diet could be a step towards a healthier you. So, why not give it a try? You might find that it not only boosts your health, but also adds an interesting new depth of flavor to your meals. Now that we know why fermented foods are essential, how can we make them at home? Let's jump right into the basics of fermentation. The process begins with choosing fresh, high-quality ingredients. Whether you're fermenting vegetables, dairy, or grains, quality matters. Fresh ingredients not only yield better flavors, but also harbor beneficial microorganisms that are crucial for the fermentation process. Next, we have to ensure our vessels are clean. Fermentation is a controlled process, and introducing unwanted bacteria or yeast can throw off the delicate balance. It's not just about cleanliness, though. The type of vessel you use matters too. Glass containers are a popular choice due to their non-reactive nature. They don't absorb or release any flavors and are easy to clean. Now let's talk about the stars of the show, microorganisms. These tiny creatures are responsible for all the magic that happens during fermentation. Depending on what you're fermenting, different strains of bacteria and yeast come into play. For instance, lactobacillus bacteria are the heroes in making yogurt and sauerkraut, while Saccharomyces cerevisiae, a type of yeast, is used in bread and beer making. Temperature is another critical factor in the fermentation process. Too cold, and the fermentation process will slow down or even stop. Too hot, and you risk killing off the beneficial microorganisms. The ideal temperature range varies depending on what you're fermenting, but usually falls between 60 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Remember, patience is the key. Fermentation is a slow process, but the wait is worth it. Each day brings you closer to a rich, complex flavor profile that only fermented foods can offer. So, don't rush it. Let nature take its course, and you'll reap the benefits in the form of delicious, nutritious, fermented foods. What if things go wrong during fermentation? Don't worry, it's part of the learning curve. Every fermentation journey is unique, and sometimes unexpected issues may arise. Let's talk about some common problems and how to troubleshoot them. Unusual smells are a common concern. Fermentation is a process controlled by various microorganisms, each contributing its unique aroma. Some of these smells may be unfamiliar or even unpleasant, but they often indicate that fermentation is happening as it should. However, if the smell is extremely offensive or putrid, it could be a sign of unwanted bacteria. In this case, it's best to discard the batch and start afresh. Mold is another common issue. If you see mold growing on your ferment, it's usually due to exposure to air. Remember, the key to successful fermentation is an anaerobic environment, meaning one without oxygen. To prevent mold, ensure that your ingredients are fully submerged under the brine or use a fermentation weight to keep them under the liquid. A change in color might also alarm you. While some color changes are normal, for instance, red cabbage often turns bluish during fermentation, others like green beans turning olive or brown might indicate a problem. If you're unsure, it's safer to toss it out and start over. Now let's talk about the importance of cleanliness. Ensuring your equipment is clean is essential to prevent unwanted bacteria from spoiling your ferment. This includes everything from your hands and cutting board to your fermentation vessel and weight. Monitoring the process regularly is another crucial step. Keep an eye on your ferment, check for signs of activity like bubbles or cloudiness, and adjust as needed. For instance, if the brine level drops, top it up with a bit of salt water to keep your ingredients submerged. Remember, troubleshooting is a part of the fermentation journey. It's all about learning, experimenting, and improving. Don't be disheartened if things go wrong. Instead, use it as an opportunity to learn and grow. With these tips in mind, you're less likely to encounter problems and more likely to enjoy the fermentation journey. Fermentation isn't just science, it's an art. It's a playground for culinary creativity. This process, as old as civilization itself, offers an infinite canvas for experimentation. From the heart of the Amazon to the vineyards of the Mediterranean, fermentation has given us some of the world's most fascinating and flavorful foods. Ever heard of orange wine? This amber-hued delight is made by fermenting white grapes with their skins, resulting in a robust, complex wine that's unlike anything you've tasted before. Or perhaps you might be intrigued by biomusk, a sustainable plant-based musk produced through microbial fermentation. And it doesn't stop at grapes and musk. From the tangy kick of kimchi to the smooth creaminess of yogurt, from the refreshing fizz of kombucha to the rich complexity of sourdough bread, the world of fermentation is yours to explore. You see, the beauty of fermentation lies in its versatility. With just a little bit of creativity, you can transform everyday ingredients into extraordinary culinary creations. Try fermenting different types of fruits, vegetables, grains, or dairy. Play around with various spices, herbs, and flavorings. Experiment with different fermentation times and temperatures. So don't be afraid to experiment. Who knows, you might create the next big thing in fermented foods. Let's quickly recap what we've learned about fermentation. Fermentation is a traditional and healthy method of food preservation that involves the activity of beneficial microorganisms. It's not just about making foods last longer, but also about enhancing flavors, adding depth to your diet, and introducing probiotics that can boost your gut health. We've also covered the basics of fermentation. From choosing the right ingredients to understanding the role of microorganisms, it's a process that requires knowledge, patience, and a bit of scientific curiosity. The right equipment is crucial too. Whether you're using a simple mason jar or a specialized fermentation crock, cleanliness and proper handling are key. Then we delved into troubleshooting. Fermentation is a live process and things can go awry. But don't fret. Common issues like weird smells, discoloration, or unexpected textures can often be resolved with a bit of know-how. Remember, if in doubt, safety first. And finally, we touched on the fun part, experimenting with fermentation. Once you've got the basics down, the world is your oyster. You can play around with different ingredients, flavors, and fermentation times to create unique and delicious fermented foods. Fermentation is a fascinating world waiting for you to dive in. So go ahead, start your fermentation journey today, and experience the health benefits it brings.